this is our fault. If I don't see it as suffering, it's not. Does that make sense? It becomes suffering when I think of it as miserable, right? My swimming pool is only half as big as my neighbor's. I can imagine you having that trouble in Florida. I don't know. But I suppose there's some other good things that come from this too. Why is Jesus so significant? Well, Jesus is part of what is a Trinity, right? So I think we talked about the Trinity, right? The idea that there's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, right? So this is part of the creed by now. It develops, by the way, Pope John Paul II he loved Mary, the mother of Jesus, and they came really, Mariology, the study of Mary, they came really close to adding Mary as kind of a fourth part of the Godhead, because after all, women need a role model as well. And Mary is considered worldwide now pretty much one of the most significant women in our consciousness, so to speak. But the importance of Jesus and how he saves us is, as he's dying on the cross, faced with this evil, right? Does he complain about it? No. He views everything that's happening as what was destined to happen. In fact, there's all these kinds of arguments over, is this, the Paschal lamb sacrifice all over again? In John, the Gospel of John, the crucifixion occurs on the day that the temple is sacrificing thousands of lambs. So he's clearly, metaphorically, the Paschal lamb for the world, right? And if you think of it this way, Jesus knows this whole narrative, knew what was going to happen, and that's why in John you see lots of places where he talks about how miserable things are going to be, because he knows it already, right? He knows what's in store for him. And nonetheless, as he's dying on the cross, he says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they're doing, right? So that's how, basically, we can view all the things in the world that we think of as evil as good. And as I understand Augustine, if we can follow Jesus in this and know that everything in the world is good, that there is no evil, we are saved. Because what is being saved? What does it mean to be saved, right? Saved from evil, right? Saved from death. What is death? Death is an evil, a big evil at the end. Well, if you're of the opinion that everything is completely natural and good, and you really believe that, you are saved. So what is Jesus teaching us? That to be saved literally is a change in perspective from being a fallen person who sees evil and good and evil and good and evil. How do you get out of it? By imitating, imitatio Christi, right? Imitate Christ. And what happens is you no longer see evil in the world. And you're saved from that perspective. And of course, if you live the life then, so by being a person who gives up, things of value, gives up ownership of things, stops being attached to the physical life, you continue to have the life that Jesus leads you to accept, right, as one with nature. Is this fun? Could be. I don't know. So the summary Evil's not a created thing, but the absence of good. Moral evil arises from the misuse of our free will. Natural evil is actually a result of the fall and original sin. So, of course, once people start making evil choices, that makes it worse for everybody. So you end up with this interesting possibility of the city of God. Which is one of his famous books. And what's he talking about? There's actually two, the city of God and the city of the pagans. Who are the pagans? Pagano means countryside. The people that live in the countryside. It was primarily the urban environments where the Christians were. The people that lived out in the countryside were still practicing traditional Roman religions. And so you end up with this, the city of God versus the city of men kind of situation. And where this book came as a result of the Roman Empire collapsing. And it's collapsing, and Rome has even fallen at one point, been attacked and fires, and then they left, but when Rome fell, a lot of individuals, Nero included, for example, blamed the Christians for it. You might have heard that, that the Christians were the ones at fault. So there's this argument that Christianity has caused this fall of Rome. And he writes this book to argue that no, what caused Rome to collapse was Rome's pagan values. If they had gone Christian, it would have been the city of God, and it wouldn't have fallen. Right? So this book is famous for arguing this is what the city of God would be like, where basically everybody is a Christian. I don't know if you want to bring MAGA into this or not, but the idea that if everybody lived a good Christian life, everything would be wonderful. We have a city of God. Right? But if, on the other hand, everybody follows the pagan vices, and this is controversial because, of course, he shouldn't have said that. They have virtues, and their virtues are good. It's just not as good. They're making choices with their free will, and they could have chosen the best. Instead, they chose apple pie. And so, as a result, they get a little bit less of the good because they made that choice, right? So the Romans don't have the complete picture, and as a result, they're making bad choices. And he did call them vices, and part of that was because he lived that way before he was converted, so he knew what they were like, right? And so he called them vices. So that's an important book as well. The Confessions is probably the most famous one. I would imagine you could go to the Barnes & Noble bookstore and buy a copy, even though it's written in 340 AD or so. It's still in English over there. And of course, it was originally in Latin. By the way, you could read it in Latin as well if you're curious. City of God, I'm not sure if that's on the shelf over there, but of course all of his works are in our library, including in the Latin copies. So if you're interested, the Latin copies are the green ones. No, now I'm confused. The Greek copies are the green ones, the Latin copies are the red ones. If you go into the foreign language section, you can see a whole wall practically of red books, which are all in Latin, and all the green ones, of course, all these Greek philosophers and everything, they have the Greek there. And the English is on the other page, so that's okay. So, what else am I forgetting here? Free will, Plotinus, and music. Next class is when I have this quiz question, but I should also mention music, because even though he's against attachment to things. He completely likes music, and in fact, one of the music, hopefully this works. This is his mother's favorite music. And it's one of the music pieces that it's written by Ambrose, Bishop Ambrose. And this type of music is called Ambrosian chant, because Ambrose is the one that wrote it. And it's not exactly Gregorian. We'll see Gregorian chant come up later, and there's a little bit more depth, I guess is the right word, in talking about Gregorian chant. There's more harmony and so on. This is all sung at one voice level. That's not the right way to describe it. It's not monotone, because they are going up and down. You can see, I don't, actually that's Gregorian chant, the notation, so I don't know if that's a good picture for this. But they don't use harmony. Gregorian chant will add harmony. And Gregorian chant is called that because of Pope Gregory the Great, who is the one who writes it, or at least authorizes it, whether he's the one that wrote it or not. Any questions for me? Has this been fun? Next class we prove that God exists. So that should be fun. That's thanks to Anselm and his Proslogion. So I do have the link for you to read his argument, so you can come in prepared to argue whether or not his argument is persuasive or not. Fun? I should shut up. I put music on and then I talk. Sorry. Have a good weekend. Apparently we're not supposed to get snow yet. I already have all snow tires on all three. I have 3 vehicles because I'm dumb. I'm obviously not an Augustinian monk. I own 3 cars. That's pretty dumb.
Where were they?
I miss when you're not there, actually.
I was in Canada.
That happens. I've heard of people that. I do have it posted. I just posted it this morning, so you can watch. I was talking about the kind of the history of religion. Just an hour lecture.
I tried to make that last night.
Oh, I just posted it this morning because I woke up and I went, oh, I didn't do that. So I came out and posted it. But, and I made a mistake for some reason. It's 8A, 8B, 8C. This camera is still running.